Ready to explore the extraordinary world of tech? Welcome to the XTech podcast, where we connect you with the sharpest minds and leading voices in the global tech community. Join us as we cut through the complexity to give you a clear picture of the ideas, innovations, and insight that are shaping our future.
Hello and welcome to XTech Podcast by Fox Agency. I'm your host, Debbie Forster MBE. I'm a tech portfolio consultant and an advocate and campaigner for diversity, inclusion, and innovation in the tech industry. I'm delighted to be working with Fox Agency as the host for the XTech podcast and as a curator for the XTech community. Now today, I am delighted to be joined by Sylvia Assumpção, the Global Marketing Director of the Access Group. Welcome, Sylvia.
Hi, Debbie.
So, Sylvia, I've got the chance to chat with you, but what I love to do is for the audience is get to know you as a human before we dive into the tech and the business at hand. And one of the ways that I start unpacking things is to understand, how do people get into tech? Because for some, it's a really windy road. Others wake up and they have the laptop in hand. How about you, Sylvia? How did you find your way into tech?
So for me, it has been I've listened to a lot of the episodes on this podcast, and I've noticed that there's a pattern from how women get into tech. And for me, it's not very far off from everybody else, right? It's
the squiggly career.
Yeah. I woke up one day and here I was already with 10, 15 years of my career in tech. So, but the long story is that all my way through university, I had worked during the day, studied during the night. So my degree was all made through 4 years from, 6 to 10 at night. But even though I was working already on marketing and everything, full time, they needed me to sign a box of internships. And so I had to do an internship. And there was a tech company in my city that was looking for interns, and I joined. I stayed there for a few months, and then I just liked it. It was fun, but I was very early in my career. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do, and what I didn't want to do was stay in Brazil, where I was originally from. I had already lived in a few different countries, and I knew I wanted to go abroad. So a funny story is I was traveling with my grandmother in France, and this company I did this internship for, they had a branch in France. And then I just thought, I might just say hello, show my face there, and if they ever have an opening, maybe they will think about me. So I asked my former boss to introduce me, and I went to the office to meet the GM of that office. Again, my thought was just coming to say hello. I'm in Paris, nice day. I was wearing maybe shorts and a t-shirt, very, very casual. And he took me to a room and started asking me questions, which in the middle of it, I thought that sounds like an interview to me. And I was like, okay, I'll just go with it. And I continued to go through it. And in the end, he was kind of saying they had an opening because their marketing manager was going to go on maternity leave. And so I kind of said if I was interested, that was something they'd be looking for, because I already knew the company, I knew the product, so it would be an easy fit. So I ended up getting that job. So I moved to France, and I worked for that company for a few years, moved with the same company to London, and the rest is history.
So Sylvia, in those early days and traveling and showing up in France at the company, was tech something that was just the periphery? Was it an annoyance and cramping the creativity of marketing? How did you feel about tech at that early stage?
For me, it was always something I was interested in. So my strengths are, I really like the part of numbers, the part of understanding how things work. That is about me, a big thing. I need to know how things work to be able to be the best that I can be. And so the part of understanding our systems, our tools, our data was very important to me. And I do enjoy what most people think it's a big issue when you go on Salesforce and all these reports and all that. I love it. I find it very therapeutic. I love drilling into it.
Salesforce, I'm going to put an alert out. There's your new sales technique of
exactly.
You offer therapy and calmness to people.
Yeah, new sales point for them.
Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. And so, and we'll come back to data in a minute, but with over 10 years doing B2B SaaS marketing, you've watched the industry evolve, and rather quickly. I think particularly in terms of consumer expectations, marketing approaches. What have you seen?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've seen so far is there's a bigger point for me is standards. I think customers and consumers have much higher standards of marketing from now than what was when I started. The expectations that things need to be done and delivered flawless, but most importantly, quick. And I see that as myself, as like, if I sign up for a trial or anything, I want the email in my inbox working right now, not in 2 minutes. You know, when you have these confirmation numbers of things, I go again, because I cannot wait 30 seconds for it to arrive in my inbox. So I think that for me is a big thing of people really wanted everything quickly and very well done. So I think the personalization and making sure things are relevant to them, they understand a little bit more of what is behind, the billboards they see, they get it. So I think that for me is what I've seen there, which is great for us that work in marketing. We're having to step up our game, really.
Yeah. That period of COVID, which already seems a million years ago and just yesterday, but that seemed to suddenly bring together what you were saying, that companies had to keep up with. There used to be, here are the expectations of B2C. Here are the expectations of B2B. And B2B are, they're more patient. And then we realized, well, actually, our consumer is our business client. And they bring those expectations. And so those two things, all those things we used to have to really, really get absolutely right on UX for B2C is now as essential to our clients when we're talking B2B, because they are still the C. It is, the B has a tiny C in that. And those companies that can work with their marketing people to understand that, of getting the UX for your B2B clients absolutely right, I think is absolutely essential.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that COVID changed a lot of things in terms of how we work and how we position things and even how we do marketing. But I do think that in that kind of blend of B2B and B2C has kind of was emphasized during COVID. There was a time that was a lot of talks about what was it, B2H, like to humans instead of it's no more CRB.
I've not heard that, but that's super, because it is what happens. Essentially, whatever the other letters, there is the H. There is that human at the other side. And
exactly.
I think COVID, because we were all at home and there was the great blurring. Who knows when work stops and home begins? And the same way, when do we stop being client and customer and all of that? It's human. And that's super. And I think, and that's a great takeaway to anyone. Is actually, this is about B to human, and how are we getting that right? Because I'd go further to say even the human is the internal customer, our employees, and the employee experience. If they're going to be their best, we get that. I'm quoting you on that one, Sylvia. I don't know who else said it, who else told you. I'm going to start talking about B to H and say that Sylvia taught me that. So
okay, well, I'll take it.
In doing some of my cyber stalking of you online, I noticed that you talked about data is marketing's best ally. Now, in the SaaS world where everything is measurable, how do you balance the data-driven insights with creative marketing solutions?
Yeah, that is very interesting. And I saw that in practice on a few roles that I had, because my strongest background in my career has mostly been built on demand gen. So where, data is very important and we're working on it all the time. But at some point I took a role to oversee brand globally. And part of my role was actually the reason why I got that job is to bring that experience to brand, because I think that there is this assumption that brand is something completely unquantifiable, that you can't really know how much we just put the money and then pray that we hope for the best, right? But the point was to bring that into the whole creative space. That was why I was asked to do that job. And it worked in terms of I did bring that to the creatives that I was working with. But I also learned that most importantly was to kind of also get the buy-in from the senior leadership that was important, because when you go talk to a CFO, you need budget, and because brand is expensive, so you need budget to kind of do that. And that type of people, they need to see numbers because that's what they work on every day. And so I think where I got the balance where I would start with data and anything I can quantify. So if there was anything I can turn intangible to tangible, I would. And obviously that there's a lot of variables and indirect numbers, because sometimes you can't say, oh, does this billboard work? Well, we don't know. If there's a QR code, we can, but sometimes that's not the right experience. But what I could do, for example, is by the time that billboard was there on that location, did we get more traffic? Did we get more volume of people looking for our product? Do we get more search for our product? So I think anything that I could point into that direction that was valuable, I would, and that would help my case into kind of getting people on board. So one is start with the numbers, and that will give you credibility and opportunity to be creative, because that is the other piece that I think I love, is getting creative to solve problems. And when I talk creativity, for me, it's a different type of creativity. I think I can be very creative on how to solve issues, very resourceful. So I think that is, for me, is you create the opportunity and the gap with the data, and then you fill in with creativity to kind of bridge that gap.
And it's interesting what you're saying, and I've heard this coming through a lot. Data is becoming everything now. It is, where we used to say everything is digital, but beneath that common language is the data. And I like the way you've cut through on the idea, even because we can make creativity, being creative, very airy-fairy. But if it is data-driven, and creative is to create, is to make, and if it's solutions, it's fixing problems, it's solving problems, you then start having that shared language that the CFO, that the CTO, that the CMO can then have the right conversation because they have that shared language. And then we'd say, and we'll talk a minute about AI, of course, then the more you understand that bit about data, the smarter you get through that. So now I think about the Access Group. You've got EMEA expansion experience, and you've got the experience of Access Group's global reach. How is AI changing that regional versus global marketing equation? Are you seeing AI make it easier or not?
Yes, this is a very interesting question. And I know it's been talked about a lot about AI. And actually, I did a presentation about AI in marketing last week, so it's very fresh in my mind. So for context, I work, Access is a huge company. We have a lot of different divisions. The division I work on is a small business division. So we serve all small businesses, and we have solutions for them. So there's a few interesting things here. One is we talked about the B2B and B2C blend on the small business side. That's
huge.
One thing.
Yeah,
right?
It is everything.
Because the smaller the company is, the more they're likely behave as a consumer. So there is that. So one is on how you kind of position in terms of it's not B2B, it's B2C, and then how AI integrates to it. So one thing is that the Access Group has been on the forefront of AI. I've never seen a company work like this before, in terms of we're going to be the first and we're going to be the best. And this is the new thing. And I believe it is. And it's unbelievable. I'm very excited about it. But one thing that I think it solves for, I'm going to go back to your question. I'm not going away from it.
Oh, you go anywhere. I'm waiting here, and I know you come back to me. So you keep going. I'm right there with you.
So the thing with before, when my previous roles, it was very much, here is EMEA, here is, North America and all of that. With the Access Group, the main focus are UK, APAC, so a lot of English-speaking type of countries, which is much easier because culturally they're much more aligned than when you kind of go through a lot of different countries in Europe, so that's easier. So AI definitely solved for what was the pain of my life was the S's and the Z's in texts. That is one. Very easy to solve. AI help me out with that. That's very good. But I think it also helps in terms of being able to personalize and scale, because that was a big issue for me and a big challenge when I was marketing for different countries like France, Germany, Spain. The personalization was very, very difficult because you would have to get people and translating and making sense that would actually land with the customers. That was very tricky. With AI, you're able to kind of apply that in a much bigger scale. And I think it's a game changer in how we work as a business and how we interact with other businesses. So yeah, I definitely see that as a big, big change for us, but for the best. I'm excited about it.
And I think that's a great way of pitching in, because I think a lot of times in tech, we're hitting that nervousness around AI adoption, but it's understanding where the secret sauce is. Or as I learned in Spain to say, the chili in the recipe.
Yeah.
That customization, personalization at scale. That's a game changer when we're talking about marketing. And that is the gateway into getting people to see how and where that works. So, you've mentioned how far ahead of the game Access Group is, and you recently launched Access Evo, your AI solution. Now, how do you position the AI capabilities in that increasingly crowded market where every software company can claim to have AI? How is it different beyond what we just said?
Yeah, yes, it is interesting because I think so I did a talk about AI last week, but at the same time, I cannot hear about AI anymore because everything is AI, right? And we all go through these phases of, does every year there's a different topic. But I do think this one is different. I do think AI, it's not just a buzzword of the year and next week is going to be this different thing, because it's not only in marketing. Like, it's not something that Gartner or Forrester decided that is this is what we're going to talk about this year. And I don't think that's it. I do think it's changing us as a society and how we work and how the world works. So to say that, yes, all companies are having to, there is one thing, they're having to talk about it, otherwise they're not relevant, right? I think with Evo and Access Evo, it's different because that's not what it is. It's really, there is a deep belief that is the future. This is the future, and we're kind of really going to make this the best experience for our customer. So I think one of the things that made it different is this is not about AI. This is not about the features. This is how the experience is better. And this is why this is going to be working. So it's not about just talking about AI. It's talking about why this is going to make your life better. I think that, and this is kind of like the essence of marketing, right? It's not talking about product or features. It's talking about the pain points and what it solves. So it's just a simple thing. But I do think a lot of companies are failing and just focusing on talking about the buzzword that is out there. I also think that there is what I talked to about personalization at scale. It's kind of from that angle in terms of making sure the differentiation is there, that making sure that there is cross-system intelligence, there's making sure that there is a contextual understanding and that the AI knows the business context, not just, justification why we're adding certain feature in the tool. And the last thing is really about ROI, because in the end of the day, that's all businesses care about, right? They don't care how it gets done. I just want it to be better, and I just want everything to be
bottom line
improved.
If you haven't got to the bottom line, you're not there.
That's it, yeah. And I think that's kind of what we mostly focused on. I think the tagline is, it's not magic, it's Evo, which is just to show that no, it's not just out of nowhere. This is what the future looks like. This is why you should do this. So I think that it's positioning as AI that works and not just AI that is just there for, yes, you have AI checkbox. It's really emphasizing the practical utility over just technical elements of it.
And someone outside listening to what you're saying, Sylvia, the other thing I would say is interesting, and I think it's a key point, and you touched on it. You talked about all companies out there sometimes in a blind panic of, if we're not saying AI, we're not relevant. Oh God, just make sure every fifth word is AI. Yes. You talked about a belief.
Yeah.
And I think there is something, and it's the absolutely knowing the why. And this is what I think I'd ask our listeners. In your company, have you bottomed out the deep why? That means as an organization, you believe it. And I think that's what's cutting through or not cutting through when we're doing our sales cycles, etc., is everybody can smell the buzzword bingo when it's being sold to them. If organizations at an individual level really have bought into the why and believe, that belief is then going to be what you're saying. You're really understanding how AI is at the heart of and building outwards, not bolting it on because you have to, and it doesn't have to stay on long because at some stage that's going to fall off and we'll put the next buzzword on there. And that's really powerful. And I think it's something for us as companies, because I've been reading the surveys around that, of companies when you talk internally, how many actually believe it's good and how many are just saying it because they and the cynicism is growing in of our company has no idea why they're doing AI or what. They were just saying it. And that's how things break. Whereas what you talk about, if there's that belief through, then people are wanting to make it work the right way, the right context. And it will ultimately hit the bottom line. So how do you then balance the AI-powered marketing, automation, with the human touch? Because in complex B2B sales cycles, when things are too perfect and automated, we smell that too. And and I think a lot of people on the show have talked about, I think our craving for the human, for the authentic, which is human, is going to grow, not disappear as AI takes off. So how do you think you need to balance that?
Yeah, that is a very interesting one. And I think that, if you asked me 6 months ago, I might have a different answer, because the truth is that this is all new, right? We're all learning with it, and we're kind of all not all, but the ones that are
most of us, let's be honest. If we talk about it, I have yet to get anyone that over a drink goes, yeah, we've got it figured out. Everybody kind of says, I don't know. We're still in full scale experimentation.
Yeah, exactly. We're all experimenting with it. But I think I have caught myself thinking about this, because as consumers, we a lot of the times don't want to talk to a person, right? I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to get this resolved. Right?
I don't need to people. There are a lot of things of, I don't need to people. I need to get done.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But then a lot of the times we do not, absolutely not want to talk to a bot. We want to talk to a person. So I think humans were complex beings, it's a lot of wants and needs.
Many of which are highly contradictory.
Exactly. So how do you work that in the marketing side? I think, so the way we're looking at it is that in truth, a lot of our marketing has already been not talking to a human, right? Because you're automating things and you kind of just going and hoping that message is relevant for that person as much as possible. So I think AI helps that, right? It only improves that. When whatever you were doing that was automated, AI is going to improve it because of that personalization at scale that I talked about. So that part, I think that is covered. But is when I think there needs to be a much deeper understanding of your customer journey from what you had before to now, in terms of all of the touch points you have with that customer, and where does the automation and AI adds value and when it reduces value. So I think there will need to be kind of a really deep understanding of that, and where do you want to have the human interaction there in a way that also is the most efficient as possible. So I do think it's kind of adding another variable to the journey. Is not only you're going to see it, okay, this is where marketing owns the lead, this is where sale owns the lead, this is where does AI own the lead. So I think that is definitely going to be part of the conversation now. But I do think that is a lot of experimentation right now. But as a rule of thumb, I do think that whatever automation was done, AI is much better because it automates better. It personalizes better.
And as you say, it's B to human. So whether we're talking our internal stakeholders, whether we're talking to clients, whether we're talking to customers, all the other little letters, when really trying to get a deep understanding, when do we not want or need a human, and accept that that's okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then understand, when do we want or need the human, and woe betide the company that tries to put the bot there, because that's where the friction's going to come. It's not that we're decreasing friction and, increasing our sales cycles. That's where people opt out. That's where people put the unsubscribe. If we do that, I'm going to, you've given me something. That'll be over the coffee this morning and probably over a drink later of thinking about understanding, because that's where the experimentation, because I think as humans, we're also understanding that.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm now finding in my encounters those moments when I think, oh, thank God, I don't have to wait on a helpline or something. I can just get a bot, ask the question, get it done, get in, get out. Thank you. Box ticked. I can move on to my next task. And other times, if I get a bot, I'm out. If I get I don't want automation. I need that. Okay. All right. So thinking then bigger, as we come to the end, I like to let people look at the horizon beyond just the day job. What's on the horizon that interests you?
I know that is really a cliche, but I do think it's, for me right now, is AI. I'm really deeply involved. I'm really excited. I genuinely am excited. I think this is a time in the world and like in business and all of it, where either, when things like came, like people doing things in paper, and then you have systems. I do think is one of these moments now. It's not like, I don't believe it's just another thing. I do think this is a biggie now. And the people that are going to differentiate themselves in the market and in the business and everything is the ones that operate this on the maximum level and understand it. And so I think this, I'm excited about. It's so endless. There's so much. And when I talked about creativity and creativity of solving problems, that's because I do think that lines up really well with what I like to do. So I think that for me is really, really exciting. I know. I mean, I wish I could have more inspirational thing to say, but that's what I'm excited about right now.
I think it is, Sylvia. And it's interesting. I've been doing this for a few years now. And I now, when we talk about the horizon, there is nobody that isn't doing some flavor of AI, because it's everything. It is the horizon, and it's where we choose. But you're touching on something that's just been coming up in the last few episodes. I think for a lot of us, for the first time, it's our jobs that are going to get disrupted, right? This is not right. Manual labor is going to have, no, this is coming for us. But I think the people who are going to survive and thrive are not the ones who are panicking but the ones who actually say, this is exciting. Because again, it goes back to understanding, what can AI do in my job? It's going to vanish. And if I don't get ahead of it, but then where is my value add? Where do they need me as human to do those things? And how that interplay, if you go back to what you said earlier at the very start, you liked solving problems. That's where the creativity goes, of all the data says it's here, it's not going anywhere, and it's going to continue to. I think the disruption and change is going to accelerate, not go away. And those of us who can see that and say, cool, let's figure out. And I love one of the takeaways throughout the thread for you, for this podcast with you, is, where is the human bit? Where do we absolutely need the human bit? And where do we just let go and let it automate? Because that's sort of where the magic happens. I know we're supposed to say it's not magic, it's AI, but it's kind of magical if we can do those. Yeah. See, and now you can say from your brand perspective, you drop the slogan in as well. So it's a win-win situation. AI probably couldn't have figured out how to drop that in that way.
Yeah, you see, you still need us for something. But, I do think the way I'm seeing it more and more is that one thing we have to remember is that we control the machine, right? We have the power to control it and to teach it. So a lot of the times I'm thinking about, it's only be as good as we are, because I can do all the automation, but I need to tell them. I already see as a person, I need to tell AI exactly what they need to know. I need to be able to teach it. I need to onboard it and kind of build all of that around it, because otherwise it's not going to be as good. And again, I think that it can be a step further, is there's already starting this AI is better than this one. And I think that is going to be like the humans behind it, of how you teach and how you drop that knowledge in is going to be a big one.
And there's probably before you're born, don't tell me that, it will break my heart. But, earliest days of tech used to talk about garbage in, garbage out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always true. And it's just what's going, we're feeding in more and more. And it's what are we feeding it? And we still have that control. What are we feeding it to make? And I like what you're saying as well. We talk about AI too often as if it is one thing, but there are different brands. There are different AIs, and we're going to have I won't, for the purposes of the show, say which one is, but I know my go-to on AI because I like what they're feeding it. I like how they're shaping that. So, okay. And then always last but not least, my question, but this helps fill up my to-do list in terms of reading and learning and doing things. Sylvia, what are you reading or watching or listening that you found valuable?
So, as a rule, I like to watch a lot of things that are not very valuable because I like to turn off my brain and just
God. Me
not
too.
have to think about
junk food
anything,
for the brain.
Right?
I do need some junk food for my brain.
Love it. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll think about something that is not bad. So I thought about one of the books that I found very, very valuable that I actually am going to read again. It's called Never Split the Difference. Have you heard of it?
No.
Oh, it's honestly one of these books that are really, really unbelievable. So it's about negotiation tactics. And the guy that wrote it was, he's American. I think, now I'm not sure if he was CIA or FBI, but regardless, he was responsible for hostage negotiations. He was the high pressure environment. He was the lead of hostage negotiations in the world. And through the book, he teaches negotiation tactics, and I have used them. I remember this. I was very proud of myself. I've used one of the tactics in a hotel because there was an issue with the hotel room, and I got what I wanted in the end. And I thought that's valuable. Got what I wanted.
Wow.
It's in the thing. What I liked about this book is it's not very large. It's very small size actually. But it's written in a way that is interesting. It's not like, in chapter 1, and you can't just be bothered with it. No, it's really well written. It's real stories. It's really, really good. I really think anyone can. Yeah, it's great.
All right. Well, that's on my download list when we finish the podcast. Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Listen, thank you so much, Sylvia, for being here today. I've really enjoyed our chat.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
And thank you to all of you for joining us on this episode of XTech. If you'd like to appear as a guest on the show, don't waste a minute. Email us now at xtech@fox.agency. I'd like to thank our whole team of tech experts at Fox Agency for making this podcast possible. I'm Debbie Forster, and you've been listening to XTech.
Keep exploring the world of tech. Subscribe to our podcast and never miss an episode. To discover more opportunities for global B2B tech brands, visit fox.agency today.